skimpflation? Don't you just hate skimpflation? I hate skimpflation. Do you know what skimpflation means? Skimpflation is a spin-off of the word inflation. Okay? So there's a word inflation. I'll teach you what that means. And then there's a spin-off of that word, and the spin-off is skimpflation. Okay. What's a spin-off? A spin-off is something that results from something else. Okay? So they're related, but two different things. Okay? So, for example, you know those Disney movies, like children's movies that get really popular? You know, maybe they have some princess or something. Guys, I'm out of breath. I need to catch my breath. You know those famous movies that kids watch, cartoon movie, like, you know, like some princess or something. What happens after those movies make it big? Make it big means become popular. Okay, when those movies make it really big, suddenly you start seeing the characters in that movie on the boxes of breakfast cereal, right? So kids want to buy that breakfast cereal, right? Because of the, someone's walking behind me, guys. They're stalking me. I'm gonna go down to the canal here. All these people stalking me. All right, guys. I'm gonna go down to the canal and hide on this rock. People are stalking me. All right. They're gone. Now I can start walking again. Okay, guys, so you know those movies, right? They are very popular among children, and then suddenly you start seeing the face of that princess on the cereal boxes. And so the kids, when they go shopping with their mom, the kids say, "Hey mom, I want to buy that cereal," because they recognize the character in the movie that they like, right? So the cereal is like a spin-off of the movie. The movie is the first thing, that's the main thing, and then the cereal, it's a different thing. It's a spin-off business, right? It's like, this is the main business, the movie, and then some companies, they start putting those characters on the cereal boxes, or maybe they make the shape of the cereal bits themselves the shape of the characters in the movie. So kids are literally eating those characters from their favorite movie, right? So it's an example of the word spin-off, okay? So inflation is the main word, and there's another new word that I've heard recently. If you listen to financial podcasts especially, you'll hear this term, skimpflation. Okay, so it's a spin-off. It has a similar meaning, but it's different. Okay, so first let's talk about inflation. What is inflation? Inflation means to make something bigger. So for example, if you have a flat tire on your car or your bicycle or whatever, I need to take another trip to the water, guys. Someone's coming with their dog. I can stand on this rock and catch my breath. Okay, so if you have a flat tire, you need to it's flat, right? You need to make it bigger. So you need to put air into the tire. So you pump up the tire and you pump air into the tire, and then you're inflating the tire, right? Inflate, that's what the word inflate means. So when we talk about inflation in the financial sense, we mean that the government is printing money to make the money bigger, right? So there are many countries in the world where they started printing money. They started printing like $100 bills. And then soon, after a few years, they started printing $1,000 bills or $1 million bills or $1 billion. Some of these countries, their currency is like, you have to have like 50 million, whatever unit is of that currency. You have to have like 50 million in order to buy anything. You want to buy a pair of socks? 50 million. Why is it 50 million? Well, because the government printed more and more money, and it made everything bigger and bigger, right? So why is that bad? Well, it's bad because you lose. How do you lose? You lose because the government gets the money first. Okay? So when the government prints money, they get the money first and you get it last. That's why you lose. So let's say, let's take any product like a jug of milk, right? I could go to the store. I think I have a $10 bill in my pocket. Look at this nice $10 bill here, guys. 10 Canadian bucks. What would you buy with 10 bucks? So with $10, I'm pretty sure I can go to the store. I can buy a jug of milk with this money. It won't quite be $10. A big jug, like 4 liters of milk. It's gonna be about $6 to $7, right? After tax, after the deposit, the bottle deposit, the jug deposit, right? It's gonna be maybe $7 or $8. It's not gonna be $10. So if the government wants to buy some milk for themselves, they can print a bunch of $10 bills and go and buy some milk, right? Because when they print the money, the price of milk is less than $10. But imagine after they print this a lot of money, suddenly the money supply in the country gets really big, and then the prices go up because there's so much money and not more milk. The milk is pretty much the same, right? And so suddenly the prices start going up. People are willing to pay more for that milk, but the government got it at a cheaper price. So now after the prices have gone up, you go to the store to buy milk with your $10, and suddenly now the milk, man, there's a lot of people out here, guys. It's a Saturday morning, that's why. Should have made this video yesterday. So when you go to the store with your $10, now suddenly you realize, hey, milk has gone up to, it's like now it's $15 a jug. I can't afford to buy milk. And then you go to your boss, who's paying you the same salary that you've been making for, let's say, 5 years, and you go to your boss and you say, hey boss, I can't buy food for my family. All right, guys, try to walk a bit faster to keep ahead of the people, right? So you go to your boss and you say, boss, I want a raise. A raise means more money. You go to your boss, you say, give me a raise. And the boss will say, okay, fine. We'll give you a 3% raise. And you say, okay, fine, I'll take it. But you always feel like you're behind because you're always having to play catch up, right? If you play catch up, that means you're always behind and you're trying to get ahead. You're trying to catch the real price of what's going on. And you can't, it's always moving, right? The price of milk is always getting more and more expensive, and you can't make enough money to buy it. And so it's always, trying to play catch up. So, you know, real inflation, the real rate of inflation could be maybe 10%. And if your boss only gives you 3%, it means you're never going to catch up. And it means you're really going to struggle. And you're going to have to cut back on your eating. You can't afford it. So maybe you'll buy something else. Instead of drinking milk, maybe you'll drink water. Or you'll drink, some crows are having a fight over there, guys. Having an argument. Stupid crows. Okay, do you understand inflation? The bad thing is that the government gets it first. You don't. So the government can buy the milk at this price, but by the time you understand what's going on, the milk is up to here, and now you have to ask for the raise. You have to ask your boss for a raise, right? So you're always having to react to what the government does, right? The governments, guys, governments are really corrupt. They don't have their citizens' best interest in mind. Like, if I think about my country, Canada, do our leaders, do the politicians in Canada really care about the people? No. They are corrupt. Actually, it reminds me of a few verses in the Bible. Psalm 14. It says, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on the children of man to see if there are any who understand, any who seek after God. They've all turned aside. Together they've become corrupt. There is none who does good, not even one." Can you believe that? The Bible says not even one person in the world is good. They've all become corrupt. Especially politicians. I hate politicians. Let me know, in your country, do you love your politicians? I hate our politicians here. They're corrupt. The amount of money printing, right? The person who owns the money printer, well, it's good for them, right? Imagine if you had a machine in your house and you could print money. I heard a bicycle bell. It's over on the other side. Imagine if you had a printer in your house and you could print money. Well, that would be good for you. It wouldn't be good for anybody else, right? So that's what the government has. The government can print money whenever they want to. Oh, we want to buy this. Print. Let's go buy some milk, right? It's really, really corrupt. It's evil. So I hate that. So what do people do then? Or what do companies do? What does everybody do in response to this? The government is printing money, inflating everything. What do you think they do? Here's where the word skimpflation comes in. Okay, skimpflation means that companies do not want to raise their price. Instead of raising their price, they reduce the quality of their product. Okay, so companies don't want to raise their prices. Companies hate doing that because they don't want to lose customers, right? So I've heard some of our politicians here in Canada say that companies are greedy because companies want to charge so much money, more than they need to. That's not true. That's not the case, right? I mean, what, did companies just start getting greedy this year? Maybe companies have only been greedy for 10 years. Before that, maybe companies were great, right? No, companies have always been greedy, right? It's not something new, but now politicians in Canada are saying that now companies are becoming greedy. That's not why inflation is happening. Inflation means when the government prints money and the prices of everything go up, right? So the reason milk is more expensive now than it was before isn't because the farmers are sitting in their farmhouse saying, let's raise the price of our milk. Now that could happen. It happens sometimes if the farmers if they all secretly get together. Actually, there was a case a few years ago in Canada, the price fixing scandal of bread. You can Google it if you want to. Just Google Canada bread price fixing or something like that. Okay, so the companies, all these big grocery stores that sold bread, they got together and they said, let's agree that we're not going to compete with each other. We're going to fix the price of bread higher than it needs to be and screw everybody over, right? That's an example of corruption. Really, competition is good because competition means you have to sell your product at a reasonable price so that you can do better than your competitors, right? So, Walmart needs to make sure their prices are better than Amazon. Amazon needs to make sure their prices are better than this other, they're all having to compete. That means the prices are lower, right? But when all the companies get together and they do some scheming and they say, all these people need to eat bread. Let's increase the price of our bread, all of us together, and the people won't have anything to eat. They have to pay for it, right? That's terrible. So anyway, so it can happen that companies are greedy, for sure. But the main reason for inflation in Canada now and around the world is because of money printing. The government wants to make money for themselves to do their useless things. Oh, we need to buy weapons. We need to buy more weapons, so we need more money, so they print more money and they buy more weapons. Guys, there's a plane up there. Thank goodness it's not a bomber. Man, I'm thankful to live in a country that's peaceful, guys. Look at this nice peaceful place. Even though our politicians are corrupt, they're bad people, and I do believe hard times are coming to Canada. I have a very negative outlook on the future of Canada. I've talked about that in my videos before, but I'm very thankful to live in a peaceful country where there's not bomber planes, military, bombs going off, all this stuff. It's a very peaceful place. I like this. Living in Canada, I'm very thankful for that. So companies generally don't want to raise the prices of their products because they're afraid that customers are going to not buy the product anymore and think badly about the company, right? Like, let's say you like to buy honey. You like to eat honey, you put it in your tea, or you put your honey on your bread in the morning or something. Let's say every day you go and you buy honey and it's $5 for a jar of honey. And then let's say you go tomorrow you go and look at it's like $7. Are you going to like that or not like it? You're not going to like it, and you're going to think that company is being greedy, right? You're going to think that company, it's going to have a bad image in your mind, right? And so companies don't want to raise their prices. So sometimes what they do, instead of raising the prices, they keep the price the same, but they reduce the quality of the ingredients that go into the product. Okay, so for example, let's say you make some kind of breakfast cereal, okay, and you use real honey, your company uses real honey, good quality honey, to make the breakfast cereal, then suddenly you realize that your costs as a company are going up, and you're not making as much money as before. So you say, well, what can we do? We have two options. We can either raise the price of our product, let's say $5 a box of cereal, now you have to raise it to $7, or we can use cheaper quality goods, ingredients that go into the cereal. So instead of using honey, good quality honey, maybe you reduce it to cheap honey, bad quality honey, and you start putting that in your product. And then let's say next year you stop using honey and you use sugar instead of honey. And then after that, maybe you just stop using good quality sugar, you use just the cheapest sweetener, just the cheapest stuff you can buy, and you start putting that in your cereal. You know, and so the quality goes down, the health benefits of your cereal go down, right? Instead of using good quality healthy ingredients, you're using the cheapest stuff, right? You know, when you go to the store and you look at products here in Canada, every product uses canola oil or sunflower oil or palm oil, some of the cheapest kind of oil you can get. I've never seen a product on the shelf here in Canada that uses olive oil. I don't remember ever seeing a product. Why? It's because olive oil is more expensive, right? So why use olive oil when you can use some cheap oil like canola oil, right? Or sunflower, and one of these like just very cheap seed oils, right? And so that's bad for people's health. People get sick and people go to the hospital. That puts more burden, more strain on the healthcare system. And then the government says, oh, okay, well, where are we going to get the money now? All these sick people, we need to have better hospitals. And so they waste so much money on better hospitals or better this, better doctor, more doctors. We don't need more doctors. We don't need more hospitals. We need to figure out this. We need to solve the problem right at the root, at the bottom, right? What's the bottom of the problem? What's the root of the issue? Inflation. This is an example of how the government hurts people. Inflation is really bad for society. Inflation should be zero, absolutely zero. That would be a good, healthy economy. If the inflation were zero for like 50 years, where the jug of milk was $5 for like 50 years, that would be great. But it's not that way. Why? It's because of inflation. It's because the government is greedy. The government prints money. And that causes companies to choose skimpflation over inflating the price of their product. Does that make sense? Smash like if this is making sense. So, like, the word skimp means that you use less than you should. It's a, you skimp. If you skimp, that means maybe you start using, let's say you don't have much money, right? And instead of putting one spoon of sugar in your tea, you put half a spoon of sugar. So you're kind of you're skimping on this and you're skimping on that, and you're trying to use less and less and less. Now the word, for example, here's another example, skimpy. If I say she's wearing a skimpy dress, okay, the girl is wearing a skimpy dress. What does that mean? That means her dress is using a very little amount of fabric. There's just little like short skirt, almost no fabric. It's skimpy. That means the dress is not, it's not covering enough of her body. right? So if someone's wearing a skimpy dress, it can be seen as a bad thing because it's like it's too revealing. Her dress is inappropriate, it's too revealing, it's skimpy, right? So that means it's using too little material. There's not enough cloth covering her body. Well, it's the same with skimpflation. Companies, instead of inflating their prices, they skimp on the ingredients that go into their product, right? So imagine if you, let's say clothing, right? Let's say a company makes dresses for a woman and they need to use like 1 square meter of fabric, right? And they sell that dress for $10. And they say, now our prices are going up. It's more expensive to buy cloth. Now it's more expensive to pay our workers, all the people who work for a company. So we're gonna keep our dresses at $10, but we're gonna use less cloth. Instead of 1 square meter to make our dress, we're going to use half a square meter, right? And so they use half a square meter and they sell that dress to the woman, right? And so that's a good example of skimpflation. They're skimpy. The companies are skimpy on their use of good quality ingredients and materials that go into their product. I mean, it doesn't just need to be food, it could be anything, right? It could be picnic tables, right? Here's a nice picnic table. Maybe instead of using, I don't know, instead of using metal, it's metal, right? Was that metal? Yeah, I think that's metal. Instead of using metal, maybe they use plastic and sell the same picnic table for $100, but they're saving money because now they're using less. Their cost of making that product is less, right? So because they need to keep making their margin, right? Companies have a profit margin. That means how much does a product cost to make? How much are they going to sell it for? That's their profit. Companies want to have a certain amount of profit margin. So they can do that one of 2 ways. They can either increase the price to increase the margin, or they can decrease the cost by using plastic instead of metal, or by using sugar instead of honey, something like that, right? By using canola oil instead of olive oil, right? So this is what we mean by skimpflation. Okay, so it's really bad. It's happening. Let me know, is this happening in your country? Have you noticed the quality of products getting worse? Maybe the price is not getting higher, but maybe the quality is getting worse, or maybe both at the same time. Right? Maybe the price is getting higher and the quality is getting worse. Guys, what kind of a world do we live in? With new words like skimpflation. I like that word. I like the word because it describes what's going on very clearly. When you understand what inflation means, right? Inflation is the price of something going up. Skimpflation is the same idea, but it's actually where the price stays the same, but the quality goes down. So I like these new words like that I hear. And when I heard that word, I only heard it about maybe a week ago. And when I heard the term skimpflation, I fell in love with it. I thought, yes, I understand what it means. I don't even need to look up what it means. I knew exactly what it means because I've had that same thought in my mind for many years, that companies are doing this. When I buy a product at the store, I always read the ingredients and see what's in there. And I'm always like, why do companies have to use such bad ingredients? Like, I could make more healthy food than any of this food on the shelf. And that's why it's good to do home cooking. But the problem is, nowadays it's almost cheaper to buy food from a store rather than to cook it at home, because everything is so expensive. You can't even buy a bottle of olive oil or a jug of milk or, you know, honey, for example, instead of sugar or different things, right? It's like, I don't know, guys, let me know. Are you a normal person just like me, or are you rich? If you're rich, give some of that to me. Guys, I'm being followed by people. Guys, give me some of your riches. Anyway, guys, there's your English lesson for today. I hope you learned that word. I'm sure most of you didn't know what that word means, because I didn't even know what it means. I just heard it for the very first time in my life like a week ago. So that's why I wanted to teach you this. Teach you new words that are coming into the language, coming into the English language, right? Like, I always knew about that concept, but I didn't know the word to use for it. And now I like that word, skimpflation. That's my favorite word of this year. 2023, that's my favorite word of this year, skimpflation. How about you? What's your favorite word of the year? Which new words have you learned this year? I learn new words all the time, guys. I probably learn dozens of new words every year that I'd never heard before. And it's nice. It kind of feels good to learn things, right? So guys, that's it. Skimpflation. Wow, that's a lot of words, actually. Now you'll know what skimp means, skimpy. If a dress is skimpy. If a company skimps on something, right, you know what that means. You know what spin-off means. You know what inflation means. Skimpflation. So guys, hope that's helpful for you. As always, I love you so much. Thank you for always watching my videos and for all your support, all your comments and likes. And hope you're staying safe and healthy and happy and everything. And from here in Alberta, Canada, I will wish you the best day ever. So stay safe and take care, and I'll see you over in the next episode. Guys, someone just started their lawnmower. Scared all the ducks. They started up their lawnmower and it scared all the poor ducks off the off the canal. Anyway, guys, as always, I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.